may know, 75% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, in the form of oceans, lakes, rivers, and etc. The aquatic biome is divided into two categories: freshwater regions and marine regions. Freshwater regions contain low salt concentration. It contains less than 1% of salt. Therefore, creatures living in freshwater regions are adjusted to the low salt content, which makes it impossible for them to live in the ocean. There are three different types of freshwater regions: streams and rivers, ponds and lakes, and wetlands. Streams and rivers can come from everywhere. It can come from springs, snowmelt, or even lakes. They always get their starts at headwaters and are always flow in one direction. At the headwater, the temperature is cooler and water is also much more clear. It contains high oxygen level, so the heterotrophs live there. Towards the mid part of the streams and rivers, the width increases and more creatures can be found. Numerous plants and algae can be found in this region. Once you get to the mouth of the river or stream, you'll realize that the water became all murky. The sediments that it has picked up from upstream causes the water in mouth to be murkier. Since there is less light and has lower oxygen levels, creatures that require less oxygen can be found. For example, catfish and carp can be found in this region. Much like streams and rivers, ponds and lakes are also divided into three different zones: the littoral zone, limnetic zone, and profundal zone. The littoral zone is the topmost zone near the shore of a lake or pond. This zone is the warmest since it is very shallow and it can also absorb more sunlight than the other regions. It contains a fairly diverse community such as algae, amphibians, fishes, and insects. Most vegetation and animals living in this zone are food for other creatures such as turtles, snakes, and ducks. The limnetic zone is surrounded by the littoral zone and is well lighted. The limnetic zone also contains millions of plankton. When these plankton die, they fall into the profundal zone. The profundal zone is the deepest part of the lake or pond. It is colder and denser than the other two zones that I've mentioned. This is because light barely penetrates through this zone. Wetlands are known as the standing water. Marshes, swamps, and bogs are all wetlands. A variety of species live in wetlands. Amphibians, reptiles, and birds can be found in the wetlands. Now, my partner Eric will talk about the marine regions.
My partner James has talked about the freshwater aspects of the ocean, so I want to take you through the marine ones. It is divided into the intertidal zone, the pelagic zone, the benthic zone, and the abyssal zone. We are all familiar with the intertidal zone. We swim in it during the summer. It's where land meets the ocean. There are usually two types of shores, rocky and sandy. Rocky shores usually consist of a variety of algae and small animals. Sandy shores, on the other hand, have few animals because of the crashing waves which prevent them from establishing a home. Most of the animals here are small fish along with clams and crabs. The pelagic zone can be considered the open ocean. It is usually cold here, but a shift in temperature is caused by currents. The primary producers of this area are plankton. They're usually eaten by large fish and larger animals like whales and sharks. This part of the ocean goes down to about 200 meters deep. The benthic zone is what we call the seafloor. There are usually silt, sand, and dead organisms that fall to the ground. Depending on where you are in the ocean, the benthic zone can have a lot of light or very little light that reaches it. In some parts of the benthic zone, it includes seaweed that helps provide nutrients for fish, mainly algae and deep diving whales ever reach the benthic zone. Our last one is the abyssal zone. This is where the deepest part of the ocean. It is nearly freezing down there. The pressure is unbearable in this part of the ocean. There is a lot of oxygen in the water, but very low amounts of nutrients. Most of the animals here are invertebrates and use chemosynthesis to make food from the vents that release crazy amounts of sulfur. The only animals that ever get this far down are deep diving whales, giant squid, worms, and some crabs. I briefly want to talk about some other parts of the ocean as well. Coral reefs are in warm, shallow water. Obviously, they mainly consist of coral. There aren't a lot of nutrients here, so algae and plankton are the main source of energy. Many invertebrates and fish like sea anemones and urchins live in coral reefs. The last thing I want to discuss are estuaries. Basically, this is where the rivers and oceans meet to create a salt and freshwater mixture. Most of the animals of this area are plants such as algae and aquatic grasses. This area serves as an important breeding ground for many animals as it can support both salt and freshwater animals. Thank you for watching, and we hope you really took something in from this video. And if not, well then you just missed out on some info from the biome.